seconds.
Is this where the damn drumming and the music kicks in?
Yeah. What is going on, everybody? Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining us for another episode of On the Pipe podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepardson, and today is Monday, June the 20th, 2022, and we've got an action-packed, jam-packed show coming at you today. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to On the Pipe podcast. Today, we're going to do OTP's weekend review, this time with Evan Smith and Ben Nelko. So both of those guys are going to be joining me here in just a few moments as we talk about headlines from the weekend, talk about results, and we talk about them going 1 and 2 overall at the Full Gas Sprint Enduro that happened yesterday. Also, those two are going to be in a battle at the final round of the Full Gas Series for $7,000. $7,000 is on the line for the championship bonus at the Full Gas Sprint Enduro at the final round, and it is winner take all for Evan Smith and Ben Nelko. They're just a few points away from each other in the overall point standings, so whoever grabs the win at the final round will take home the big check of $7,000. So we talk a little bit with them about that as well, but also recap the weekend and recap stuff going on in the off-road world throughout the weekend. First, we're going to start things off with the Full Gas Sprint Enduro Series results. So we went racing yesterday in just outside of Martinsville, Virginia. Evan Smith, as we mentioned, takes the overall and the XC1 win on that Beta Factory Racing Beta machine. And then Mason Simmons comes out and joins us for a weekend of Sprint Enduro racing. He goes second place in the XC1 class, and Will Reardon also comes out and joins us and ends up third place in the XC1 Pro class. So Mason Simmons been battling some injuries. He's back on his way to being healthy and racing again, so it was cool to see him out there and see him putting down some solid times as well as we head into this weekend that will be the Snowshoe GNCC. Same thing with Will Reardon. He's been off the bike for quite some time, battling an illness and some sickness, so it was cool to see him back out at the races and hope to see those guys start clicking off some race wins, podiums, and some success coming up. So it was cool to have them out there and cool to see them racing as well. We look to our Pro 2 class, taking the Pro 2 win, staying unbeaten on the season. It was the Steel City Men's Clinic Honda rider of Ben Nelko. And oh, hey, by the way, he wrapped up his first ever professional championship as he comes home with the Pro 2 or XC2 Full Gas Sprint Enduro Championship on the year. He grabs that win and second place overall on the day. Steve Nichols put in a solid ride of his own. He gets second place in the XC2 class and also third place overall. So your overall podium was Evan Smith, Ben Nelko, and Steve Nichols. And then we look to the third place Pro 2 rider. Mike McLean goes out there and gets third place, puts it on the podium in the XC2 class once again. And then we look at our women's pro riders. It was Mackenzie Tricker's birthday, and I made sure to mention that as many times as I could just from a little bit of an inside joke. It had to have been 3-4 years ago now. Her husband, Dylan Bean, was celebrating a birthday at one of the Full Gas events, and so we mentioned it was his birthday all day long, so we had to return the favor to Kenzie this year since she was racing on her birthday. She goes out there, gets the Women's Pro Class victory, and also wraps up the 2022 Women's Pro Class Championship. So that was her first Sprint Enduro Championship in the States and of her career. So that was cool to see Kenzie get crowned the champion of the Full Gas Series. She's been racing Full Gas, I think, since the beginning. So It was cool to see her wrap that one up. Second place in women's pro, moving up from the amateur ranks, Lexi Babbitts made the decision to switch up and race that women's pro class. Ends up in second place on the weekend, grabbing one of the big checks. Morrison will round out your top 3 women's pro riders at the Full Gas Sprint Enduro Series. And we look to our Pro-Am class. Grady Faint goes out and puts on a heck of a ride, and he gets first place in the Pro-Am class and fourth place overall on the day. So Grady was out there rolling, and that was cool to see as well. Dominic Morse ends up in second place in that Pro-Am class, and rounding out the Pro-Am podium, it was Bolton Baroth. So that is the way that things shook up. There was 2 champions crowned in the pro classes, Ben Nelko and Mackenzie Tricker. There are still 2 championships on the line. The Pro-Am class as well as the overall championship will be decided at the final round in just a few weeks. So no doubt that is going to be one to keep an eye on and look out for as we approach that date. Now, I want to take this opportunity to let you guys know that Beta Motorcycles is the official manufacturer of On the Pipe podcast. Beta Motorcycles has been family owned and operated since 1905. They manufacture the finest enduro, trials, and dual sport motorcycles that are known for their premium quality and rideability. Beta motorcycles are the best looking bikes on the market, and they back it up with their superior performance. Head over to betausa.com for more information on their available models or to find a dealer near you to get yours today. A lot of success for Beta over the weekend. Evan Smith grabs the Full Gas overall victory. He's riding a Beta. We mentioned at the last Full Gas, Evan became the first 2-stroke rider to ever grab the overall win at a Full Gas, and he does it back-to-back and wins it once again this past weekend. Looking at the Mid-East Series, we're going to talk about a little bit of their results, but I think the big headline coming out of there is Stu Baylor joins us on the show each week, and we kind of talk about everything. We talk about career, we talk about the industry, we talk about racing, we talk about all of that. Here lately, unfortunately, we've talked a lot about Stu's injuries. Well, rumor has it, not even a rumor has it because he said it on the show several times, he's racing snowshoe, so he went and raced Mid-East this past weekend, I guess to get 2 hours on a bike and see how he feels. But Jonathan Johnson, them Johnson brothers, they are the Mid-East local legends, and Jonathan Johnson, piloting one of those Beta factory racing Beta machines, grabs the overall win at the Mid-East Hare Scramble over Stu Baylor in that number 2 spot. So Stu actually posted about it and wrote a pretty good write-up about how the day went. You can check that out on his Instagram. But have another Beta wrapping up a championship out west. A lot of cool stuff going on from Beta this year. And in a moment when we're joined by Evan Smith, we kind of talk about some of that stuff that Beta has going on, and that it's just really exciting that they are part of the podcast as well. The other big news from the weekend was the U.S. Sprint Enduro. The overall championship got locked up. It was their final round of racing, and Josh Toth, like both, grabs the U.S. Sprint Enduro Championship. So he is the 2022 overall U.S. Sprint Enduro champion. He is riding a little bit banged up and goes out there and still gets it done and comes away with that championship. So stoked for Toth. This is his first Sprint Enduro championship that I'm aware of as far as from the overall standpoint. So I'm sure he's got to be stoked on that. Stoked for him. So congratulations, Josh Toth, the 2022 U.S. Sprint Enduro champion. But Johnny Gerard ends up grabbing the win for the weekend, just 0.3 of a second over Josh Toth. So Josh Toth and Lane Michael were battling down to the wire, down to the very last round for that U.S. Sprint Enduro championship. Josh Toth gets it done. He finishes second place overall on the weekend, and then Liam Draper rounds out the top 3 overall riders, top 3 open riders. So Johnny Gerard, fresh off an injury, comes back to his first race at the last U.S. Sprint Enduro, wins that one, goes back-to-back, barely nudges out Josh Toth for the weekend victory, but Josh Toth wins the war and becomes the U.S. Sprint Enduro champion. We'll look at the Pro 2 class. Cody Barnes grabs the win once again. He wrapped up that Pro 2 championship before, so he grabs the Pro 2 win on the weekend. Gus Gus Reardon goes out and grabs second place spot in that Pro 2 class on the weekend, and Thorne Devlin will round out your Pro 2 class podium. We'll look at our women's pro class. Taylor Jones, as we mentioned, wrapped up her 6th straight sprint enduro title in the U.S. Now she's won 2 U.S. sprint enduro championships, won 4 full gas championships. So Taylor Jones is on fire this year. She is back to the TMFJ of the past. She grabs the win once again over Corey Steed. Corey Steed finishes in that second place spot. They've been battling back and forth, trading victories all season. And then Shelby Turner rounds out the women's pro class podium in that third place position. Looking at the Pro-Am class, Sebastian Taverny grabs the win in the Pro-Am class, followed by Neil Enman and Drew Calloway getting on the podium there in that third place spot. So cool to see Drew up there putting down some fast times and grabbing a Pro-Am podium on the weekend. As a lot of you know, one of the big storylines coming from the weekend as well was the fact that Caleb Russell went across the pond to Austria, the Iron Giant, to race in the Erzberg Rodeo. He grabs the prologue win, so he starts Erzberg with the number 1 plate, the number 1 sticker on his bike as the fastest qualifier in the prologue. So it was cool to just see that happen. But goes out there, makes it to checkpoint 19. Ends up in the 70s overall, timed out of the race. But to make it that far and to win the prologue on a bike that he had essentially never ridden and a completely different element like that. Hard enduro is one thing. Hard enduro at Erzberg is a completely different thing. So I thought it was cool to see those stories, see those headlines, and see some of the photos and videos of him giving the Iron Giant a try. So I thought that was pretty cool to see. Hopefully we'll see Caleb Russell this weekend at Snowshoe Racing. That is the rumor on the streets. So hopefully we'll see him lined up in the 3-hour race, if not the 2-hour race, but looking forward to that as well. Another notable thing over the weekend that we also talk about with Ben and Evan coming up here is the West Hare Scramble Series. Ricky Russell races that one and grabs the win by almost 6 minutes over Dante Oliveira, and then Mateo Oliveira, Dante's younger brother, ends up in 3rd place overall on the day in that West Hare Scramble. So Ricky Russell coming off of a GNCC victory. It was his 2nd career victory. His first career victory was all the way back in 2017, which just so happened to be Snowshoe. So now we have Ricky Russell grabbing the win, proving he can do it once again at the Penton. He backs it up with a West Hare Scramble victory over the weekend, and now we're heading into Snowshoe where you know that he has won before, and he's coming off 2 straight weekends of winning. So the confidence is going to be high with Ricky Russell going into the weekend. So it's going to make out to be a awesome weekend of racing up on Snowshoe Mountain. Can't wait to get there. Missed it last year. That was the first year that I have not been at Snowshoe GNCC since I knew what a dirt bike was, essentially. So stoked to be back up on the mountain this weekend. Hope you guys will be there as well. If you see me out and about, I'll have t-shirts with me. I'll have stickers on me. So if you guys want any of that stuff, t-shirts just $20 at the race, and then stickers are free. More than happy to give them out. So if you see me around Snowshoe Mountain, obviously not going to have a lick of service, cell phone service. That's one of my favorite parts about Snowshoe. Just turn the phone off, hang up, hang out, enjoy the time, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the party, enjoy the concerts, enjoy the cold beverages of your choice, and just live in the moment. I'm stoked for Snowshoe Mountain. So our group of buddies, we all have a house that we rented up there. So if you see us out and about, maybe we'll get into something rowdy. But yeah, I'm stoked. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see you all at Snowshoe. This episode, as always, is brought to you in part by Zach Tussle at Raymond James Financial. Zach is a racer and a financial advisor that helps his clients win when it comes to retirement and financial planning. If you or someone you know wants to save and invest for their future, or is already retired and needs advice for income during retirement, Zach Tussle is always my first recommendation. Find out more by Googling Zach Tussle or on their website at financialadvisors.denvernc.com. So we've talked about Zach in the past. He is a supporter of the show, and he is a racer himself. So check him out. Ask how he can help with your financial planning. And everyone, if you're listening to this, you should be planning for your financial future. So if you want to get started in that world, Google Zach Tussle. Look him up on Instagram. Look him up on Facebook, or go to financialadvisorsdenvernc.com. Now, this episode, it is coming to you guys a little bit late, so I'm re-recording this intro. We talk about some topics in this show that I was on the fence of whether or not to put up. And I went back and listened to, this is now officially the second podcast that I've ever listened to of On the Pipe podcast. And it's all stuff like, I don't want to say it's controversial, but it's just stuff that I think needs to be talked about. It's stuff that obviously I'm passionate about. If you listen to the show up to this point, you know that my whole goal is to make this a better situation for riders, to bring more money into this sport, to get riders financially compensated as the professional athletes that they are and for the risks that they take. So a lot of this stuff does kind of delve into a lot of the financial stuff that you've heard Stu and I talk about in the past. So Evan Smith and Ben Nelko, Evan Pro 1 at Full Gas Sprint Enduros as well as National Enduros, Ben Pro 2 at National Enduros, and the Pro 2 Full Gas Champion. Also, both of those guys, GNCC XC2 competitors. So Evan just signed to the Beta Factory Racing Team this year. Ben Nelko has support from that Steel City Men's Clinic Honda, which we talked to Ben back in February and learned more about that and about the Steel City Men's Clinic. And it's awesome to see them getting involved and getting support into the sport. I mean, that kind of goes in line with what we're talking about. Steel City Men's Clinic, if you haven't checked them out yet, you can see their van at most all the races. You can also check them out online, and they're doing a lot of good, not only for the sport from a financial standpoint and getting the team together and having a presence at the races, but also improving the health and quality of life of a lot of riders. So they could also help you with that as well. So you can check out them by Googling Steel City Men's Clinic and see how they can help you out. But I digress. Going back on that, with Evan being on a factory team, Ben wrapping up a championship, on the verge of another one, if not two championships. They'll be battling each other for the Full Gas overall title, and Ben sits pretty well in the lead in the National Enduro Pro 2 point standings. They are at different points in their career than Stu is. And as I mentioned, we talk a lot with Stu about these financial topics, about what can change the sport, about the state of the sport. And that all came up again in this episode. And I thought it was cool because of the different parts in their career that Ben and Evan are both at. So it was cool to get their opinion from their standpoint of it, where Stu is one of the more popular guys. He's a 5-time National Enduro champion. He is a contender for a GNCC title. I mean, he is one of the premier guys in the XC1 class and on that factory Yamaha team. So it was cool to get the balance between what him and I have talked about and also get the perspective from these guys tonight. That being said, it does dive into some topics that people, I guess, could say was controversial. Really, all of it is just based on facts, based on numbers, and based on what's going on in the scene of the off-road world. So there was a lot of contemplation whether to go back and edit the show or whether to re-record the show or take some stuff out, and eventually made the decision that just going to give it to you. We're going to give it to you exactly how it happened. Nothing is edited out. Nothing is changed. And as much as I say it was kind of controversial, it really shouldn't be thought of as controversial. It is all valid concerns and valid things that are going on in the sport and things that would be awesome if we could see the change happen. Now, Once again, I don't know how the change comes about, and I don't know how to fix it. But I wanted to give this little disclaimer because I don't mean it to sound negative. I don't want this to seem like I'm slighting anybody. I don't want it to seem like I'm picking on a particular series or not, and we kind of talk about that more in detail. But GNCC is the premier organization in the world. They have the largest rider participation of any racing organization in the world as far as off-road motorcycle racing. So a lot of the conversations that we have end up diverting back to the GNCC series because of that. They are the premier. They are the ones at the top. They are the series that people are signing contracts to go race. And so they are the example. They are the most successful series that we have ever seen be ran. And so you got to kind of revert back to them for the example that they're setting. So all we do is go through some of that, discuss some of the numbers and some of the things going on there. But that was my biggest thing is this sport is awesome. This sport wouldn't have grown into what it is without the GNCC series. They do the absolute best that they can do with what they have as far as putting races together, traveling around, and making the things happen. And the prestige and the tenureship that the GNCC series has is unmatched. And so, yeah, just wanted to basically give a little bit of a forewarning on that I have the utmost respect for them and everything that they do. It's a company that I have worked for on several different occasions. It's a company that allows me the opportunity to cover the series here on the podcast. And, they provide a lot of people with a lot of jobs, not only just staff, but riders, all of that. It wouldn't be possible without the GNCC series. So while we do jump into some of that, there is also, in my opinion, a lot of room for improvement on some areas, and just that's some of the stuff that we talked about. So enough of me babbling, enough of me rambling. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for listening. As always, be a friend, tell a friend. If you enjoy these shows, pass it along to them. Let them know what they're missing with OTP. And yeah, we'll get right into it. But joining us for On the Pipe podcast, these men went first place overall and second place overall on the weekend at Full Gas, and now they're just points away from each other, locked in a battle for $7,000 going into the next round. Ben Nelko, Evan Smith. What's going on, guys?
Oh, not much. Just hanging out in PA at the moment.
So, and this is an interesting part of this whole thing, and it's kind of why we wanted to start off talking about it. You guys have been battling this year at Full Gas, and as we mentioned, there's that championship bonus for $7,000. Evan, you've whooped up on Ben the last 2 rounds in a row. Ben, you guys are both really close in points, and it's winner take all at the next round, and now you guys are up riding together and training together throughout the week. So what's going on this week, and how much heated battles or heated discussions do you guys have about this $7,000 payday on the line?
Nothing really heated. We just, I don't know, we just make fun of each other. We just have a good time, but, whenever the racing comes, I think I might have said one word to Evan over the weekend. I was pretty upset whenever he beat me by 30 seconds the first Woods test. So I had to step my game up on the cross because he was faster in that section. But, I don't know. It's fun. We keep it fun.
Yeah, it's a good time. I just came up here to play some head games with him, try to get him all, messed up and whatnot going in the last round. I didn't even know there was a championship bonus on the line.
So what's the strategy? Do you sandbag a little bit when you're up there, or do you just give it the beans and make him think you done got a shot?
Oh, dude, I am like dabbing feet at it every corner. I stalled my bike 4 times in 1 lap today.
And then, I could have obviously wrapped up the overall championship this weekend, but, I figured why not, let it go to the last round, give the fans what they want, give Evan a little bit more, try to give him a little more confidence, but I think it'll be fun.
Man, that was awfully nice of you. But you guys both started the year off in Pro 2. Evan, did you race the first one in Pro 2, right?
Yeah, I did. And then I moved up to Pro 1 after that. I was looking to ride my 390 at the remaining rounds, and I couldn't do that in Pro 2. And then ended up changing my mind, and I was already committed at that point. So I've just ridden out the rest of the year on the 252 stroke.
But I mean, it's kind of worked out for you in a sense because Ben, you just wrapped up the Pro 2 championship over the weekend, a round early, so probably be racing the pro class at the next one. But Evan, I mean, you moving up to the pro class, you guys, like I mentioned, are battling for the overall spot, but the paydays are more in the open class. So I guess that's been a good bonus to doing it.
Yeah, for sure. That's been awesome. That definitely was taken into consideration when I decided to move up. Full Gas has put out an awesome purse this year. I mean, for everybody who's missed out on it, like they've really made a bad decision as far as making money and racing cool races is gone. So it's been awesome to capitalize on all that.
Man, and so you've raced Full Gas pretty much since the beginning, and like I remember when I first started announcing it, and you were running in the Pro 2 class and running in the Pro 1 class and going back and forth with all those guys, and there was days where you clicked off day wins over all the factory guys when they were there. And now, this year, at the last round, you became the first two-stroke to win out of Full Gas. What's it kind of been like for you for it all to come full circle compared to when you first started racing them versus now winning them?
Oh, it's been awesome. Like you said, back when I started, that's Full Gas is really kind of what put me on the map as far as professional racing went. Was racing as an amateur, showed up to my second Full Gas and got fourth overall. Was battling for test wins with Charlie and Josh back in the day, and that was awesome. And raced them for the years to come, and got a Pro 2 championship there in 2019, and had to take a year or two off. Or a year off. I think I was injured, and then we had the year hiatus there. But it's been sweet to be back racing, and like you said, being a first two-stroke winner, I truthfully and honestly never would have thought I'd be that guy. I've never been a stroke guy, never owned one since I was on a mini bike. So the opportunity came this year to ride with Beta and get on a two-stroke, and I mean, things have been going really good. I mean, a lot better than I ever could have hoped and dreamed. So it's really cool to get that, credit to my name.
And now, real quick, going off of that, and when I was posting the results for the race that you won, I was sitting there thinking about it, and I thought back through the history, and I was like, I don't think there ever has been a two-stroke that won it. And I went back and looked it up, and so I kind of caught that and put it out there with the results, which I thought was pretty cool, especially, like I mentioned, with your history at Full Gas and the Pro 2 championship and all that. But you mentioned the two-stroke, not really riding one before, and now it's your preferred bike with the options that you've had. How did that come to be, and what do you like about it?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I've, like you were saying, haven't ridden one in forever. Didn't think I would like it. Gave it a chance anyway. I like a challenge coming into the year. For the first few months there, I was a little unsure. I wasn't real comfortable on it. I was really struggling to find, just any kind of comfort at all, because it's so foreign from what I've been riding for, pretty much all my career. And just kind of had to put my head down and keep riding and trudge through some, results that I really wasn't pleased with. It was tough to get over all that, but just kept riding and kept getting at it and whatever. And I don't know, probably a good 6 months or so into having the bike, it just kind of clicked, and I started figuring out how to ride it and what to do with it, and started, I don't know, just more than anything having fun on it. And once I started having a blast riding it, the results came. So that's awesome for sure. I really like, they're super nimble, and like even on the dry slick track we had this weekend, that's something that I would expect a two-stroke not to be that good at. But surprisingly, I mean, I thought it was awesome. It's like the two-stroke, wherever you point the front wheel, like that's where you're going. And I feel like more times than not on a four-stroke, you go to turn, it's got enough weight behind it that it just kind of pushes the front, and it's sometimes harder to control than you would think with all the traction four strokes usually have. So just a lot of aspects of it like that surprised me and weren't what I thought it was going to be. So it's turned out to be awesome.
Sweet. It's good to hear that you're gelling with the bike, and that's starting to show in the results and everything as well. But Ben, one thing too, and I didn't mean to skip right over it, it's definitely a big deal. You wrapped up this Pro 2 championship, same thing with the history of Full Gas, and as long as it's been around and everything, this is your first professional off-road championship. So what's it like for you to go unbeaten on the season in that Pro 2 class and finally get that monkey off your back as far as wrapping up a championship since you've made this transition over to off-road?
It's great. I raced moto and all that my whole life, and I never even had like a state championship. So it was cool to come to off road and kind of like be. I don't know. I feel like I'm obviously way more successful in off road than I was with moto somehow in 3 years. So it's nice. I mean, I was really happy with it, and I wasn't really expecting anything like that anytime soon. So to get something like that fast was pretty cool. And then I don't know, it just gives you confidence for everything else, like for the national enduro and all that. Like it's helped me a lot because I've always struggled with like the confidence part of the racing. Always been a head case, so going to those races and winning, it just helps.
See, and knowing you and talking to you, it's so weird that you describe yourself as a head case, because it seems like you'd be the last one to not let stuff get to you in that aspect and worry about it. But as you mentioned, I mean, you've been killing it at the National Enduros as well, and now that you wrapped up this championship, there's still some more Full Gas championship implications on the line. Obviously, you're going to have to battle with Evan sitting right next to you at the next one, but also that National Enduro, you're sitting in a really good spot at it. Number one looks good on your bike. You think we can add a couple more?
Man, I think I want that blue number one on it next.
Yeah.
I mean, Brody and John,
Yeah, but I mean, I know you want that blue number one, but until the rest of those surgeries happen and you can make it to that WXC class, you're just gonna have to keep going with what you got.
I've been thinking about that, dude. You can make a lot of money. You get a sex change like that. Look at that swimmer.
Do what? Oh,
that swimmer.
I actually saw this week national or worldwide organization or something. They changed the rules. He's no longer legal. You have to have your change before the age of 12.
Before the age of 12.
Before the age of 12.
Oh, great. So now we're just encouraging it before the age of 12.
Yeah, well.
But don't you have to have your parents' consent at that point, too?
Take that however you want. We're just saying Ben's window is too late.
That really sucks.
Oh, man. So we were all at Full Gas out in Virginia racing there, but there's a lot of other stuff going on throughout the weekend. Kind of wanted to get in a little bit of that as well. Of everything that happened, I mean, we got Toth wrapping up a championship. Taylor, I think she already wrapped hers up before. Kenzie wrapped up hers. But then we got Ricky Russell racing out on the West Coast. Caleb doing Erzberg. What was the most surprising thing that, in your guys' opinion, from the weekend?
I think what I was most surprised by was Ricky's performance at the West Hare Scramble. He beat Dante out there, and it was by a pretty comfortable. I think it was like around 6 minutes or so. And I mean, I think anybody who pays attention to West Coast racing, has noticed Dante's pretty dominant out there. So for Ricky to show up and do something like that was pretty eye opening for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Dante's success at ISDE last year and everything that he's been doing out west.
Yeah, for sure. I did see some pictures of the track though, and there were some pretty nasty mud holes out in the woods. So once I saw those, I kind of knew Ricky was right at home.
Yeah. And so going off of that real quick, Ricky coming off GNCC win, first time since 2017. In 2017, it just so happened to be Snowshoe that he won at. Now he goes out and wins West Hare Scramble. I think they lapped all the way up to third place, and we're going into Snowshoe this weekend. As a pro rider in both of your guys' spots, like, what do you think that does for his mental game or for his confidence going into this weekend, coming off of his last two?
I mean,
confidence is everything.
Yeah. Ricky rides well on the rocks, and he knows it, and everybody else knows it, and they he crushed a Snowshoe. He killed the last GNCC. I don't know, like you said, confidence is everything, and he should have plenty of it behind him in the moment.
So do you think he's the guy to beat going into this weekend for the overall?
It seems that way. I heard rumors that Stu's coming back, but even Stu on a good day is going to be a tough match for Ricky and how he's rolling it at the moment.
Yeah. Very true. I guess we're gonna find out. Ben, what would you say was your most surprising thing you saw over the weekend?
I don't know. I mean, I'm a huge KR fan, honestly. So anything he does, I'm pumped on. So I thought it was awesome to see him out there racing. I mean, it was. Yeah, we're on the podcast. That was my dad. But yeah, anyway, anything he does, I think it's just cool that he's out there racing, especially that type of stuff. That's crazy to me. And I mean, we're looking at the results right now. Like, I mean, he won the prologue.
That's what I'm saying. So to go out and win the prologue and get the number one plate heading into Erzberg, that's got to be crazy.
What do you get? Yeah, I mean, he finished, what is that, 73rd? Yeah, I mean, he did better than I would do, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, not to mention that was his second time riding that bike ever, and he just rode it for a video like a month ago, he said.
Yeah, I mean,
that was cool. It was really cool to watch him rip the prologue there. It was a couple of good gravel berms and some wide open 300 action. It's always fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. It's insane that kind of in this stage that he can go over and do these one-off races, and there's also the rumor that he's racing Snowshoe this weekend and might be racing some more international stuff later this year, so it was definitely cool to see.
Yeah, I guess I'm not in the in crowd enough. I haven't heard any of the other international rumors, but that would be pretty cool.
Oh, I figured that was pretty well known at this point.
Well, I live under a rock.
You didn't get the memo?
I didn't get the memo. I didn't get the email.
I mean, he pretty much posted about it. So I thought it was supposed to be this big secret, and then Auntie's posting about it, Caleb's posting about it. So
is he racing Snowshoe then?
From my knowledge, I was talking about ISDE, but
yeah, but you just said he was racing Snowshoe too, you thought.
Well, that's been the rumor, and he also kind of alluded to that. He posted something on Instagram about having 6 snowboards and doesn't need any more snowboards, but wants to have 69 wins. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
I think he just likes to stress people out.
Get everybody stirred up. Well, so, and Granted, so what I've been hearing all year is that his plan was to race snowshoe with Zach Osborne, but that could be, are they going to race the morning race again like they did at Camp Coker, or are they both going to race the 3-hour? Because I'm pretty sure that Caleb is at 99 career podiums. So if he did come out and race the afternoon race and got on the podium, that would be podium number 100.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Speaking of podium 100s, your podium 99 less than that came last year at Snowshoe in the XC2 class, Ben. So where are you at as far as going into this weekend? You're obviously on a new bike, but you've been having success at the National Enduros, at the Sprint Enduros, and going into this weekend, a race that you've podiumed at before. What's your expectations for the weekend?
Well, we're going to find out tomorrow. We're going to do some rock riding tomorrow. I haven't rode this bike at all and anything like that yet, so see how it goes. And I don't know. I like Snowshoe a lot. I mean, it wasn't even just from that finish. I just enjoyed it the whole time. I like the more technical races like that. So I think it'll be a good finish for me as long as I finish.
Yeah, that'd be a good start.
Yeah.
Evan, what about you? What do you think about Snowshoe? It's one of those races that, like, I feel like people love it or they hate it.
Oh, dude, I love that place. Just the environment, like the track is so different and technical. You know, I don't know. I think it's a blast. I enjoy the whole weekend. And I remember last year I was up here at the same time hanging out with Ben and, you know, going into it, I was like, well, this guy's a moto guy. So, you know, he's obviously never ridden rocks. He's probably going to, you know, suck. And we went and rode some rocks. We went and rode a local spot with some of the coastal boys and just show up. And, like, Ben works literally everybody there. And I was having a mini meltdown trying to figure out why the hell I couldn't ride my motorcycle like that. And I think the feeling was a little mutual between everybody there. And then he came out and killed it at the race. So that was pretty surprising. It was good though. You know, everybody needs a good luck race like that, you know, once in a career.
Kind of like I gave Evan these last two.
Just building them up before you got to break them down.
Yeah. But hey, speaking of that, by the way, the beta's been humbling people lately, huh?
Dude, beta is on a tear this year. I mean, just, you know, Ben got humbled this weekend.
I did.
Even, like, the all-new Baylor got tamed by a beta.
That is true. So you mentioned Stu racing this weekend at Snowshoes. He did have a bit of a tune-up race at the Mid-East this weekend, and your teammate there, Evan, Jonathan Johnson, ended up grabbing the win over Stu. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, like I said on Instagram earlier, Jonathan is a Mid-East Jedi, and I think anybody in the country decides to show up to one of those things, they should pretty much be worried about Jonathan, because, I mean, there's few people that ride any particular series better than he rides Mid-East.
Yeah, it seems like no matter who it is, you show up at a Mid-East race, there's a good chance that there's going to be one, if not two, jerseys with Johnson on the back in front of you.
Yeah, man, but, I mean, I guess baseline moral of the story is Bay's fast now, man, the whole team. Like, we're here to win races. We're here to shut people up and shut people down.
It's part of that premium quality and rideability that those betas have.
Yeah, man. Things
and hey, man, I'm not going to take all the credit for this, but I'm just going to say, before they became the official manufacturer of On the Pipe podcast, it all happened in the same year. This whole thing happened with my deal, happened with your deal, Jonathan's deal, and now look, betas on podiums everywhere every weekend.
Yeah, man. It might be John, it might be you, but whatever it is, we need to keep the Three Stooges together so that momentum keeps rolling.
Yeah, we got Joe Wasson winning races out west. We got women's pro beta champion championship locked up on a beta over the weekend. A lot of good stuff happening.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's just a matter of time before our Lipscomb's going to be on the top of the box in XC3, hopefully.
Yep. You keep putting that thing in front of Ben. Ben's going to be looking at getting a different type of red bike.
Yeah, he's already been, man.
Hey, Tyler.
Hey, Ben.
Aren't you didn't you say you were racing snowshoe or something like that?
Listen, I've been going back and forth on it. I really, really, really want my only issue holding me back right now. The only thing that is keeping me on the fence is that I don't have health insurance because for some reason I decided to quit my job to talk to people on cell phones twice a week. So not having health insurance and racing a dirt bike does not sound like a good idea.
Well, I mean, you shouldn't worry about it if you're riding a bike that has, what is it, premium rideability. You shouldn't hit the ground.
Just don't crash.
Yeah, there is that. Well, I mean, technically, I just snapped my leg in half a few months ago, and I didn't crash that time, so.
And there are a lot here on the mountain, so I get your point.
Do what?
So, yeah, I actually raced a month or two without health insurance myself on accident one time. That was
on accident. Hopefully you didn't find out when you needed to make a claim.
No. Fortunately, I was still healthy. It's like, wait a second, that was dangerous.
How does that work? So, Evan, being a big time factory guy now, pitting out of the semis, one thing, like Stu and I, as you guys know, like we talk every week and we kind of go about the ins and outs of the industry and pro riders. So like from y'all's experiences with different teams, different places, is health insurance something like that? Is that something that you get on your own, or is that included in your deal, or how does that work?
I mean, that's definitely something I would love to tell you. You know, the team takes care of. We got top-notch care. Everything's great. You know, I got this or that, and they take care of it. But, yeah, just like, you know, you're saying, unfortunately, the whole deal with off-road racing and how team deals work and all, nobody really provides that kind of stuff. So, we're definitely all on our own, you know, got to get our own health insurance. Just
so
like,
none of the teams offer any type of health coverage or anything like that?
I have never heard of a team that did an off-road. I mean, I don't even know about moto. That would be something Ben would know more than me about. But yeah, we're on our own there. It is kind of a disappointment. You know, you can probably, I mean, not that I've fortunately haven't really ever had a real job. But I would imagine if when you got a job about anywhere, they probably provide health insurance and, you know, kind of cool benefits. But, you know, we do our job and we get to ride a cool dirt bike for the year until they take it back. So I it evens out.
That's just something I was curious about. So maybe you're the guy I need to talk to. You guys are the people I need to talk to about finding some health insurance because I need to get something figured out.
Oh, man. Might get in trouble with my tax person, but you just go on Marketplace there and put in the least amount of money that you can show you made. and the government will hook you up, brother.
All right. Well, I don't want to say I'm unemployed. I'm self-employed, so I wouldn't even have to lie to show that I'm not making anything.
Yeah, it's been most of my adult life, my friend.
If you guys, if anybody wants to sponsor On the Pipe podcast, just shoot me a message. No, I'm just kidding. So, what day are you guys going up to Snowshoe this weekend?
To the mountain. I'm probably going up Friday morning because they charge you more to get in on Thursdays, and it's already going to cost me like $400 to get up the mountain. So I'm not trying to pay an extra $20.
I don't know when I'm going. Whenever I get
So,
bike done,
all right, let's dive into another subject here. This is something that that blows my mind. Can you imagine if the NFL, they were having a football game and Tom Brady was coming to play in a football game, and they said, "Hey Tom, we're gonna have to charge you admission to come in and play this football game that we're gonna televise and make all this money off of you playing this football game." Why? I don't understand why pro riders, XC1, XC2, XC3, women's pros, why are pro riders having to pay admission? Like, the extra cost on Thursday, I feel like, should be the last thing of your concerns, but that is a legit concern.
Yeah, and to even further your point, like, most of us, our parents come help us support, help support us race and everything. And, like, personally, my parents love coming to the races. I'm sure they probably don't want to be anywhere else, but the last thing they want to do is show up to the 12th GNCC this year, the 32nd race they've been to, and pay $50 just to get in to put gas in my bike like twice in 3 hours, sit in a cow field, and then go home.
Yeah.
Like, that's.
And I think snowshoe is extra for the gate fee too.
Yeah, it's a $50 camping fee this year, so it will cost me absolutely no less than $75 to get into snowshoe.
Yeah.
Just to go up there. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining because, there's nowhere else I want to be, but it's $75 just to get in before you sign up and pay for whatever else you need to.
See, and I don't mean this to harp on anything or call anybody or anything out, but it blows my mind because, like I said, the whole thing is focused around the pros. It's focused around what you guys are doing. It's focused on getting the TV show up and going to showcase the pros. It's about putting the money behind it, and then you have to pay $75 just to get up the mountain. And I think it might even be more than that because I think they charge like an extra $5 for lift tickets at snowshoe.
I mean, there's an easy way to fix this stuff,
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, all the riders are stupid as hell. You know why? There's a very small percentage of us. If there's no pro riders, then what? Everybody signs something. We do a riders union. Then what?
Is that something that you think could actually happen? So I thought you were going somewhere else with what you were about to say, and it's still up to something season. So I thought you were backing me into a corner there. But is that what? Is there a way in your guys' mind? Do you think it would be possible to start some type of riders union or to organize something to kind of help change the pay in the sport? And once again, I'm not trying to blow everything out of the water, but we've talked about it. Stu and I have talked about it on the show about even like team deals and just across the board. Like, do you think it's possible for something to get started to change the way that it works?
I feel like you kind of got to watch what you say here, but I feel like the problem is people will sit here and sign contracts for 30, 40 grand like that. And if you try to do like a rider deal and everybody got in on it, there's still 20 more guys that are willing to sign that. So that's the problem. You'd have to get so many people in on. I don't think that's not a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, well, I think he's right. Like, even if we got, the top 30 riders from the overall to sign that deal, you're just going to find number 31, 32 and on there that are going to say, "Oh, dude, I'm not going to sign. You know what? You give me $8,000 in a motorcycle, I will come race XC1."
That's the problem, I think,
Yeah. So, but, I don't really know how unions work. I'm from the South. We don't really have that. So.
Yeah. I'm in that same boat. But it's also in, I guess, we've kind of talked about it off air before, but it's one of those things where, like you mentioned, everyone is stoked at the opportunity to even get paid, like you said, $8,000, to get paid $15,000. Most people, you say, hey, I'll give you $15,000 and a couple free bikes. All you have to do is go race it. Everyone's going to jump at that opportunity, but the biggest key there is that if everybody says, no, I'm not going to do it for $10,000, for $15,000, for $30,000, for $40,000, you could also still go get paid to ride your dirt bike, but you could get paid $140,000 to go do it instead of $20,000. But yeah, it's tough to convince everyone to do it because there are so many people willing to get whatever just to keep racing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'll try and use my agent, and you go ahead and
Already done that.
get me $140K to go ride my dirt bike, and I will be pumped, man. I think everybody in the whole races would sign you.
Man, and that's the thing. So you look at, and now I'm getting off on a whole tangent, but you look at like motocross. Those dudes are making millions. They're making $1 million for championship bonuses. And you look across the board from AMA numbers, there's more off-road racers and more off-road racing participants than there are motocross participants, which means there's more people in off-road buying products. There's more people that are buying Dunlop tires. There's more people that are buying Cycroplastics. There's more people in off-road spending money on products than there are in moto, but the pay discrepancy is so lopsided. And it's easy to point it out, but it's a whole other thing to try to learn how to fix it or how to change it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I caught some of your podcasts. I don't know, maybe it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. You and Stu were talking about this. I don't really know where the gap is. Like, I don't know if you know the overall budget that goes into everybody racing off-road from all the different brands, all the different manufacturers, whatever. I don't know if it's not high enough. There's not enough money there to where the racers and everybody aren't taking it seriously enough to, like go out and hire an agent or, draw some kind of line in the sand about, we won't race for any less than X amount of dollars. So I'm really not sure what the holdup is because, like you guys were saying on that other podcast, I mean, it seems basically any other major professional sport, like it's ruled by people with agents who have somebody looking out for their best interests, negotiating on their behalf, making sure that they get the best of what they can get. And I just don't really know where that gap is. Like if we're all just too happy to be here and need to be a little more selfish and stingy about what we agree to do for how much money or what it is. But I think at some point everybody might need to get together and have a big meeting and hash this thing out and figure out how some people are going to start making some real money. I mean, enough money to honestly just buy a house and live at like a medium, I don't know, a completely middle class income
For being a professional athlete.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that, like every other professional sport, not that we need to tell you, but, just to harp on it, like it consumes our lives. We wake up, at whatever time and we do something that contributes to our profession and our goals all day until we go to bed. And, you repeat that every day until race day. And there's never really, for us, we never really have a weekend like a regular 9 to 5, 5 days a week person has a weekend. We don't really get that. And we're getting paid, basically the pay wage that you would at honestly, like a pretty entry level job in the real world.
Yeah, and that's one thing that came out about the last one is some of like the XC1 factory contracts. We're not saying that that's not a lot of money by any means, but when you start going down the line past that, yeah, I mean that is less money than an entry-level real-world job. But I've never once worked in a cubicle where in the same month someone broke a neck, 2 pelvises, a shoulder, and an arm.
And didn't have health insurance provided by the business to take care of that.
Which is included in that base salary at a normal job.
We should do some research and see if we are the lowest paid professional sport.
All right, so I don't have the figures in front of my head because they're on my phone and I'm talking to you guys on my phone. But
Yeah.
I did the math on it, or I basically did the research on it. So professional bowling, if you make it to the TV show, so if you make it to that final round that's televised on TV, you're walking away with a minimum of $22,000. And then they usually have purses between $50,000 and $100,000. The Bassmaster Classic every year is a pro. The winner gets $250,000, not combined pro purse. The winner gets $250,000. A regular Bass Series event, it pays like $50,000 to win. Professional ping pong. So if you win a professional ping pong tournament, it pays $15,000. So
Okay, well, yes, you answered my question.
and I don't want to make it like and these are the purses from the organization. This isn't including your sponsorship money, your team money for all those kind of things, because they get individual checks from all their sponsors and stuff too. But like you also I forgot where I was going with this. Ping pong, bowling, fishing. I had a point. I was bringing it all back, and now it escaped me.
So your point is the answer to my question is yes.
Oh, so like I said, that's well, yeah. Kind of hate to break that news, but yeah. But you look at it, and these are the payouts from the actual organization. And once again, I love GNCC. I love everything about it. They run them really well. They do a good job with what they have. But it kind of, all these conversations revert back to them because you guys sign contracts to race GNCC and then you pick a second series. Like, you don't sign a contract to race one of the other series and you can go do GNCCs if you want to. All of these are based off of GNCCs and then whatever you want to do on the side off of that. GNCC is also the premier series in the country, if not the world, and it's the highest amount of participation of riders in an organized racing event in the world. So whenever I talk about these numbers and talk about this stuff, I always revert it back to GNCC because they are the pinnacle. That is the biggest series. That is the series that the most money gets put into. That's the series that all the semi-trucks are going to and all the teams are putting this money into. That being said, they pay $1,250 to win the overall, which if you won all 13 rounds, you can make as much money as winning one ping pong tournament.
Well,
and that's what I think needs to change.
I mean, I don't really understand how the real world works because I just ride a dirt bike every day. But it's not even about the event purse. Like, I feel like GNCC, I don't know if they if these numbers are accurate, but I remember hearing a rumor like Specialized paid, $100,000 to be the title sponsor in, last year before, whatever. I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know if that's even close to accurate. But if it is, that's awesome. GNCC needs to make money for their efforts. They put a lot of effort in. They make a lot of things happen. They do a lot of great things for racing and everybody around it. But you're bringing in that amount of money. I mean, why could you not take, Specialized gave you that much money, keep that. That's cool, whatever. You have the Maxxis, general GNCC, whatever. Maxxis pays X amount of dollars. Why have you not taken some of that money, if not all of that money, if you're feeling generous? I don't care. Maxxis put, let's say, $10,000 down to put their name on that thing, and that's just one of however many sponsors pay them to put on each event. That's not even money out of their pocket. They could put that toward a purse. They could put that towards, some kind of special one-off event, whole shot of XC1 gets, tons of money that race. I don't care, but there's just creative ways that they could help put in money into things. And if they want to keep that money, that's fine. How about you stack a second kind of title sponsor on top of that from some other company? Who cares? Renegade Fuels puts in $4,000 extra for this weekend to be on top of Maxxis as the title sponsor. That money goes towards XC3 top 5 that race. There's endless amounts. And I mean, companies want to have their names on things. That's the point of sponsorships. So you get places, they see the names, you buy the product, whatever. We know how that all works. But are you telling me people like that would not be stoked to have their name plastered on this particular event? $4,000, chump change, whatever. Give that out to some racers. They're going to be more than thankful for that opportunity. And, even if none of those racers buy, Renegade Fuels for that race after they made $2,000 off of them, everybody else in the race, 10,000 people, 20,000 people saw that brand and they got exactly what they wanted out of it. There's more than enough creative ways to put more money into the sport that GNCC would be the easiest way to go about it, but somebody out there could do something like that without even the necessarily the backing of GNCC. I don't know if I made any sense in that, but
No, you made a ton of sense, and that's very well said, and that's a lot of the same sentiments that I think of. So my whole, and I got to be careful what I say, because there is a lot of people that listen to this stupid show for some reason now, but I kind of sound like a broken record, but the whole reason I started this thing was to bring more exposure to off-road, because there's a million podcasts about supercross and motocross, and that's where all the money is spent in the sport, because that's where all the eyeballs are. They're the ones that are filling out arenas. They're the ones that are on cable TV, getting those kind of deals. And so that is part of the reason why they can pay out more money and teams pay more money, because they're getting their name, their brand in front of more people, exactly like you were just saying. But part of my whole thing for starting this is to bring more exposure, more coverage, more eyeballs, because that in turn brings more money. Just like you said, with sponsors that can chip in, and it's money that's off the record. It's not money coming in from the race. It's sponsor money, and like you said, redistributing that through the pro classes, redistributing that to a specialty award, redistributing that in a bunch of different ways, like All Balls. They're the ones that sponsor the whole shot for XC1, and FMF sponsored the XC3 class. So that there are stuff like that, but once again, not harping on them, but just looking at from the organizational standpoint, like they used to post by the numbers, and they would say how many racers were there. Well, you can take those numbers and multiply it by the entry fee and the race fee, and you can find out how much money that brings. You can see how much money comes in just from gate fees, just from entry fees. Not even gate fees. That's only riders. That's not including your two parents that also come in and pay that gate fee, or your family that comes in and pays that gate fee, or pretty much all of the XC1 and XC2 and XC3 and women's pro class that also pay that gate fee to come in and be the spectacle of the weekend. So when you look at it like that, it's like, I think a small series is just starting out and trying to establish themselves. That's a little bit different than when you're pulling 1,500 riders, when you're pulling 6,000 fans, when you're pulling all these big money title sponsors, presenting sponsors, standard sponsors. So it just seems like there's a lot of opportunity for that to be redistributed back to the people that are making this money. Because at the end of the day, these fans aren't going to Snowshoe this weekend to go to Howard's Hole to watch Jimmy Johns in the Vet B class. You know what I mean? Like, they're selling out all these rooms at Snowshoe. They're paying all this money to go camping at Snowshoe to watch the Ben Nelkos, to watch the Evan Smiths, to watch the Ricky Russells. And without that, there is no product. There is nothing to sell. There is no advertising to sell. And so I don't know, from the team standpoints, like we talked about, like that needs to be picked up. I don't know how you do that, but also from a promoter standpoint, which is cool. Like Full Gas. When have you seen somebody else put a championship bonus on something, especially $7,000? Like their first year of operation, he's putting up, I think altogether it's like $13,000 worth of championship bonus money.
Yeah, it's insane what Josh is doing for everyone right now.
Yeah, it's been great. And just to circle back real quick, on Snowshoe, I think you're a touch wrong on that. I think everybody's showing up to that race to see Busch Lights go down at
record pace. I was down at Howard's Hole last year, and I seen two 350-pound men straight mud wrestling. Almost, it was insane. First time I've ever seen anything like that.
but so not to completely derail the conversation.
No, it probably needs to be derailed.
No, you are totally right though. Josh is doing something for the sport with Full Gas. He's doing something for the sport that definitely nobody else has done in the interest of racers in quite a while, if not ever.
I think it helps too with him because he was one of us in a way with the fighting stuff. He was fighting for money, where you have to go, you go through the ranks to get to where he was at. So he understands how we're struggling and how kind of corrupt the whole racing scene is.
And that is one thing. So for people that are listening, Josh Koscheck is who we're talking about. He's like one of the pioneers of the UFC in a way. He was on the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. He fought for the welterweight world championship in the UFC. But one thing that Josh does a lot is he relates the way that the off-road industry is now to the way that MMA was up until like the late 2010s. And I mean, it's all public knowledge, so Josh won't get mad at me for saying this. You can Google it and find out how much money he made for his fights. But when he first started fighting, he got paid 3-3, 5-5, 10-10 for his first contract. That means $3,000 to show up, $3,000 if you win. $5,000 to show up, $5,000 if you win. You look at the guys now; they're making millions doing it. Back then, it's the exact same situation that we were just talking about. They were paying $3,000 to go in there and risk your health to get locked in a cage and fight somebody. But people were saying, you mean to tell me you'll give me $3,000 to go do this? Sign me up. I'll go do it. And that it relates exactly to what we were just talking about. You're going to pay me this much and give me a free bike just so I can go ride a bike for a living? And that's kind of the way that he relates it, and I think that's a lot of the driving factor for him to come in and throw that championship bonus in there. And I think now that he's got a year under his belt, that there's going to be some even more stuff that pops off from it next year. But
yeah, I definitely look forward to seeing that series grow. It's going in the right direction. One thing that popped in my mind, my last little bone to pick. What do we think about these repeat venues in the GNC season that, started out as a COVID thing and slowly but surely became a permanent thing?
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it was the first ever episode, or the first episode that we did this year, the Weekend Review with Stu. I think that's one of the questions I asked him, expecting a completely different answer than the one that he gave me. So before I give my answer, what do you think about that situation?
As far as why it happens or how I feel about it?
We'll start with how you feel about it. Do you like that half of the season is on repeated tracks? Because it's 6 out of 13 rounds. 6 out of 13 rounds are raced on the same tracks.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm more than, I'm thankful to be racing my dirt bike, and, they go to the same place 13 times. I'm still going to show up, and I'm going to be happy about it. But, we see a lot. We've been riding the same, give or take, 10 tracks for the entire time I've been racing, which isn't even that long, and probably the entire time Stu's been racing, which is a long time. And I think we've seen enough of it that, once a year is fine. It's kind of, I enjoy seeing different things. That's one of the reasons I love like the National Enduro Series so much. Even they have gotten bad about repeating the same stuff year after year. But, you go back to schedules over the last 20 years, and the further you go back, the more it seems like they went to, one race might get 2 years, then they're gone. It goes somewhere else. And it was always switching it up. So every time the Enduro schedule came out, you look at it, you're like, oh, man, we get to go to Wyoming. Like, I've never been to Wyoming. Or, UP in Michigan, Lower Peninsula in Michigan, Florida, I don't care. All these different states I've never been to, all these tracks I've never ridden. That's awesome. I can't wait to experience something new. And GNCC's, anymore is like, oh, wow, sweet. We get to go to Penton twice again. And I can't wait for that. Hoosier, yeah, okay. That's my favorite race of the year. Once. Twice is cool. That's cool. Yeah, all right, let's do that. And, so on and so forth. And the rest of them on the schedule are still the same, what's math on that? You said 6 of them are the same. So that's 7 others.
Well, and also 6 of those being the same, I'm thinking Ironman, Big Buck, and Penton. They go to those twice, but that greater High Point region also has several races.
Yeah. Was it last year before, we raced Mason-Dixon twice?
Twice, yeah.
Maybe they're having a hard time finding new properties to race on. And if that's the case, I, don't personally know 13 new places to go hold a race, but, I've heard plenty of stories about different people having property they want to have one on. Yep. And I don't know everything that goes into, what you need to hold a GNCC. I know you need a big field, lots of land, proximity to whatever, but I mean, it can't be that hard to find. Am I wrong?
Now, to find a new property that can host a GNCC, I think that is pretty hard to find. There's a lot of properties out there. The problem is finding people that will allow you to do it and destroy their land. Not destroy, but it takes a lot to put on a race, and it takes a lot of field to be able to accommodate all the parking, all the pro rows, and then have enough room to lay out the track. So I imagine it does have to be really hard to find tracks, especially at the scale that they're at. Like, you see new local series popping up and new races popping up, and Full Gas went to a couple new venues this year, and other races are going to new venues. So, there is land out there, but the scale, and kind of like you said, I don't know anything that it takes to go into planning one of these things. And that's part of the reason why I feel bad about harping on some of this stuff. And it's easy to sit here at a desk and point some stuff out. It's another thing to be the one controlling this whole thing and trying to figure it all out.
Yeah. I also don't want to sound, ungrateful or wrongfully judging them for doing what they do. If I'm wrong, I would love for somebody to explain it to me. And, if that's done, and, I will apologize for it and never complain again. But I just haven't seen or heard a reason for it yet. So that's why I'm wondering.
Yeah. You look at the Boy Scout camp, that's a new track. I don't know what you guys think about that place. I think it's awesome. But that's the first new venue that I remember seeing in a long time.
Yeah. We had one other new one. It was supposed to be in Kentucky a couple years ago, and that ended up getting canceled. But
yep.
That's the only new one I can think of in recent years.
that Black Sky property in New York, that was going to be a new one. I think it got canceled. But then, like, so back then there was...
We did race
That
that
place
one.
was
That was
awesome.
incredible, dude. Tomahawk was sweet, too. We
Yeah.
only went to both of those places a handful of times.
Black Sky was my first one I ever did.
Which one?
Black Sky.
So I think what it was is the first year it was supposed to happen, it got canceled. And then it happened the next year, and then that was it.
Yeah, dude, I loved that track. I would love to go back to New York.
Yeah, but like a place on the to play devil's advocate on that, like Unadilla. Unadilla was sick, but GNCC outgrew that venue. Kind of like Snowshoe. The rumor going around right now is this is going to be the last Snowshoe. That's been the rumor like the last 4 snowshoes, but the rumor going around now is this could be the last snowshoe race. But Steel Creek, that's another example of it. It's just outgrew those venues. But there's got to be more venues that can accommodate. You would think. I don't know, but
Yeah, that's luckily that's not our job. That's we'll just get to sit here and complain about it.
yeah. And that's like I said, it sucks. Like especially because I know that people over there listen to these shows, and by no means do I mean anything bad by this, but they're the premier series. They're the reason that people are signing pro contracts to have people go race. And, I mean, they're the reason that people listen to the show because it covers those races. And so, I mean, as the premier series, they're going to get the most skepticism. And I guess when it comes down to stuff like this. But even like the payouts, there's no reason for that. Like, as far as talking about and stuff, like the gate fees have gone up, the transponder fees, I think it's gone up, the race fees have gone up, the sponsorship dollars have gone up, everything's gone up, the payout hasn't gone up.
It's inflation, buddy.
Yeah. Well, one side keeps inflating, and the other side ain't.
Yeah, that'd be an uneven boat.
But when we started this, I thought there was going to be a lot more joking around and a lot of name calling going on between you two. I didn't mean to go on this whole tangent. But, I mean, it's all stuff that needs to be said. And as I mentioned, like it or not, I guess a lot of people listen to this show for some reason. So I'm hoping that it inspires some change, and I'm hoping that something can be done about it. But it's nice to get even more feedback from you guys and where you're both at in your professional career.
Tyler, one more thing. Whenever we were talking about Josh and how he was able to kind of bring what he learned with fighting over to the racing thing, whenever you said that his contract was 3-3, 5-5, 10-10, what changed that in the UFC to being millions now?
So people tried to form a fighters union, but it didn't really go very well. I think over time, as the sport grew more popular, they started paying out more. But even still, like UFC, when you look at the premier sporting organizations and like all the mainstream sports, one of the big things is the pay in the UFC still. Like they are still the like lowest paid mainstream professional athletes by a long shot.
Yeah.
So you look at NBA, MLB, NFL, NHL, all these other major sporting organizations, they're federally regulated to where they have to pay out between 49 and 51% of their revenue to the athletes. So 49 to 51% of everything that they go in has to be redistributed back to the athletes. And that's why you see all of them have cap limits for all the teams, because they take the amount of money and it has to be evenly spread. And so that's what each team gets the allowance to spread back into it. But you look at that and then look at the UFC, and even though your top guys are making $1 million a fight now, they're still only getting paid 15 to 20% of the revenue of the UFC. So the fighter pay for that is still a really big topic, kind of like we're talking about with dirt bikes. That is still a very much discussed topic in the UFC world right now. Like, I think a starting UFC contract now is still only like 10-10. Then you got the boxing. You see those guys making a ton of money because all the boxing commissions did this thing called the Ali Act, and I think it's like 90% of the revenue has to go to the fighters. So that's why you see boxers making $30 million for a fight.
Yeah.
But once again, like by the numbers, and I hate to pick on GNCC, I'll pick on Full Gas, whoever. You take you can look at any race series results and see how many people are there. You can then look at that same race series gate fee and that same race series race fee. You can do the math. The amount of people times the amount it costs to race, that shows you how much they're bringing in. And when you look across the board, not just GNCC, when you look across the board, if you do that simple math and look at these race series, I'd be surprised if anyone's paying 5%. I'd be surprised if anyone's paying 4% of the revenue.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to ask. I know you've done the numbers already, and I know you know what they make, because that's the type of person you are. You sit there and do those numbers. The way that stuff works is they have to pay 51% of their 51% of their revenue, you said?
Yeah. So, like, even if you
calculator,
like a race series that has 800 riders, $20 to get in, $50 to race, 800 riders at $70 a piece, that's $56,000.
Wow.
And once again, when you're calculating that, first of all, you look at GNCC, they're pulling upwards of 2,000 people at races. I would say they're in the average somewhere in the mid 1,000s, 1,500, something like that. But 800 riders at $70 a piece, which is less than it costs to race a GNCC. $70 is cheaper than what you actually pay to GNCC. But for a local series, that's probably right about on. So 800 riders, that's $56,000. That's not including all the sponsorship money that you get for all that stuff. I mean, you look at the podium banners that you see people taking pictures of at these race series. Every single one of those sponsors that are on there paid money for the year to be on there. So you got that sponsorship money. On top of that, you got transponder money. Everyone's paying a transponder money. Whether you're renting it at a GNCC, you're buying the sticker at a National Enduro. So that's not including the T-shirts that are being sold at the hauler with all the stuff in it. That's not all the vendors. Every vendor that has a booth there, they're paying a lot of money to be set up there on Pro Row. The food vendors are paying a percentage of what they bring in. Once again, this is just 800 riders racing the race at $56,000. That's not including every single one of them riders brought an average of 1 to 2 people with them. Some people bring 4, some people bring 1, some people bring none. That is an entirely different one. So these are just the simple numbers that anyone can look at any race series and do the math on and figure out what it is. And then you can look at the pro payouts and compare. But there is a lot of costs. I mean, you got medics. Medics cost a lot of money. You got to get porta-johns. You got to get insurance. You got to pay all your workers. You got to pay the landowner. You got to pay for all your equipment to go through and reclaim the tracks afterwards. Like, there is an expense, but there's an expense with every business.
Yeah. That's no.
I feel like I've deflated the conversation now getting into all this stuff.
That was just a lot of numbers. And
it just made me think a lot.
It's like 11 o'clock, and I'm not really processing math.
Yeah. Point is, there's a wide margin for improvement. Let's end this thing on a positive note, guys. What's something good that we can talk about?
No, I agree. I mean, we're just lucky to be out here racing our dirt bikes, getting paid for it. And also, I guess, a positive note, we brushed over it earlier. my buddy, local riding buddy, Grady Faint, got 4th overall in Pro-Am at the Full Gas this weekend. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and as I was calling podiums up, I was thinking about it, and this is another thing I kind of went back and researched. I'm pretty sure that is the highest overall finish of a Pro-Am winner in Full Gas's history.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. That sounds right.
How about Steve Nichols? He was shredding this weekend.
Dude, he was. He matched me in a couple of cross tests. I was both happy for him and angry at myself.
I walked up to him and was like, dude, good job. Like, you were ripping this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know what into him.
So that was one thing I wanted to ask you, actually, before we started recording. But, yeah, I thought he put in a really impressive ride. He got 3rd place overall.
Dude, that was, yeah, he was like, I mean, Evan has ridden with him, I guess, a lot, and I've just raced with him the last few years, but that was the best I've ever seen him ride. Like, he was going for it.
Yeah. And the Pro-Am class, there was a few new people that were there that were racing it that don't typically race it, and Josh was kind of talking about them, like calling out who he thinks he was going to win. And I was like, I don't know, man. Grady might have something for him. And then Evan, like you mentioned, Grady, he put on a hell of a ride. He was ripping this weekend.
Dude, he is a weapon in the grass track. I don't know what it is, but he rides those things well.
Yeah.
That grass track was good.
Yeah. It was fun, dude. There was some scary stuff out there.
Well, cool. Well, you guys are. When is the? I should know this, but when is the next Full Gas? Isn't it like the 11th, 10th, 11th?
I think it's the 10th. That's the day that Evan gets defeated. So if anybody wants to come watch, come on down.
So there might be a couple new bikes. Evan might be on a 300. Ben, you might be on a 450. What's the deal?
I might be on a 300. We don't know yet.
No balls.
We might go 300 for 300.
No balls.
So, you thinking about changing bikes? Either one of you?
I would love to ride a 300 if I get one in time. But
yeah, if I'm gonna race XC1, I don't know if I'm gonna ride a 450 or not, but I'm definitely gonna race that because I'd like to 5-second Evan a couple times.
But then, if you guys are right now, let me ask you this. So right now, Ben, you racing Pro 2, Evan, you racing Pro 1. No matter who's winning the overall for the day, Evan, you have to go before Ben. So
Yep.
Is that something that you've thought about? What's the advantage or disadvantage from leading versus following at a sprint enduro?
Well, honestly, the first few times I did it, I've done it in years past, but never as long as I wanted to. I'd usually get like a test or two, and then somebody would beat me, and then I'd be back behind. But it took me a couple tests to get used to, and honestly, I really like it now. There's nothing to like mess with my head. I know I can't speak for Ben, but in my experience, taking off, second or third or fourth or whatever, there's always lines on the ground. So, you, especially in the cross tests, like that's where I struggle. So I'd be coming into a corner or something like that. I'd be in my line, and then I'd see these fresh tracks, in a completely different line for me. It's like 5 feet inside or outside or whatever. And at that point, I know somebody faster than me or somebody beating me went somewhere different. So now I have, second thoughts in my head. I'm trying to follow their lines, but I'm also still trying to do what I'm doing. Don't really know which way is the right way anymore. And, you end up somewhere in the middle, and it would always mess me up. It'd mess with my head. So, I kind of like going out first, and I do what I set out and plan to do. And, I feel like that's the best you can do. And that's the end of it.
So Ben, you actually mentioned kind of like what Evan was talking about. You actually mentioned about changing lines up later in the race and seeing more success. And I think you even said something about finding Evan's lines. Is that something that you're looking out for? And at what point do you make the decision to go away from what you know and what you picked out and try something different?
Well, for example, this weekend we went to the the day before, whenever I was cycling, I made a ton of lines. Like, I made what I thought were really good lines all day. I was
Disqualified.
Huh?
No, I was just kidding.
I was walking the track I thought it was going to be great. We went through. I hit all those lines. I come off. I was as I was riding, I'm like, man, that didn't feel that good. I come off, and my dad's like, Evan beat you by 30 seconds. And I was like, wow. So I was like, maybe I'm just going slow. So I tried my lines again and again, and I still got beat by 20 seconds. And then finally, I think I actually texted Evan. I'm pretty sure. I texted him and I said, I'm missing. Actually, I'm looking at it right now on my phone. I said, I don't know what's going on, but I'm missing something. And all he said back was like the little guy with his hands up being an asshole, you know what I mean? And I said, after that, I said, just a fair warning, Jesus speed on this one. And I call it Jesus speed because there's a 50-50 chance I'm going to make it through the test. So I went out on the cross. I think I laid down like a 747 or something, which was it was pretty good. And then I just started getting the ball rolling. And then we went into the woods, and I was like, I'm just going to ride the main line everywhere. And I figured out his trick right there. He ran like a 7:30. I ran a 7:34. I was like, that's it. But it was too late. Like, once you give, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, if Evan was leading, if I was leading by 30 seconds with 3 tests left, unless I make a mistake, he's not beating me. Same with, vice versa. So he did make a mistake there at the end, though. He was worried. He's seen them test times and he got pressured. I heard. Oh, did you?
Yeah, I pulled I don't know what move you would call it, but I fell in the last corner of the last test after I'd spent the last 15 seconds of that test going, all right, you got it. You're done. It's all good. We're going to coast and we're a gear tall. Wham. Get up. Everybody's looking at me. What a rookie.
Yep, that's the fastest guy on the track today. The one laying in the dirt over there.
Yeah, that guy jumping up, cussing himself. But no, it was an awesome race. I had a blast, and I can't wait for the last round.
I can't wait either. It's definitely going to be a battle to watch, especially with it as close and as tight as you guys have been at most of the rounds this year.
Yeah.
That sounded dirty.
Yeah. I think at the golf course, what was it? Obviously,
it was 11 seconds.
Yeah, I crashed the first test, but every Woods test, it was 0.3. We were tied almost every test.
Dang.
Crazy.
Well,
yeah.
You guys will have a couple national enduros, some GNCCs, summer break, and then this $7,000 championship battle coming up in July. So I'm sure you guys are going to be putting it to each other this week up there riding and training together.
Oh, yeah. You might not hear from Evan again after tomorrow.
I don't know, man. I think I'm going to hang up the boots and start drinking this week.
Hey, that's the real snowshoe prep.
Yeah, anybody who knows anything knows you got to finish at least 2 cases of Busch Light before you even get to the bottom of the mountain.
Yep. It's rules. I think it's in the rule book.
Yeah, it is. So I don't have anything clever for that.
Well, hopefully, through all of our discussions, I remain blackballed for all the things that I say, and you guys don't get roped into any of it. But I do appreciate your thoughts, appreciate your insights, and appreciate your guys' time. I think this was cool to come on here and chat with both of you, and at the same time, and kind of get, like I said, another perspective from where you guys are at in your careers, and hear everything that's been going on.
Yeah, I appreciate you having us on. I had one last thing that popped into my mind. I would like to say, Eccles or Bolton is listening, please make snowshoe hard again. I don't want to average 45 miles an hour on the front side of the mountain. And I don't think any other people do either.
Yeah. See, yeah. Trying to open a whole nother can of worms when we're trying to wrap this thing up.
Last bit, just please give us something hard.
Free Howard's Hole.
Free Howard's Hole.
Well, cool. All right, thank you guys for coming on, for your time. Appreciate it, and we'll see you guys on top of the mountain. Ben, are we playing the golf tournament?
I told you, if you want, I can get people. I golfed today. I shot an 80, actually, a really good game. So,
how many mulligans?
Good game for me.
All right. Well, talk to your buddy. Text me. Let's figure it out.
All right. Evan said he's in.
All right. Sounds good. All right, fellas. Thanks again for your time, and we will see you atop Snowshoe Mountain in just a few days.
See you soon. Love you, bud.
See you.